back if you've just joined us. Take a look at this. Now, this looks like this piece of wood. It looks like it's normal. I mean, if you looked at that, and even if you hit that, you would think that that was a normal piece of wood. However, when it's been stripped away from where it was, you can have a look at here at how brittle it has become and how empty. This is what termites can do to wood. All of this. I mean, without you even knowing it. The same applies, of course, to this piece of, what do you call it, hardboard masonite. You see what it's done to that? So it isn't necessarily just wood. Doug Howick is an entomologist with the CSIRO Building Research Division. He's here to tell us about termites, how they live, the damage that they can do. I think you're going to find it all pretty interesting, so would you greet Doug Howick? Here he is here. Right, sir? All right. If you had a house, let's say here in Melbourne or in Sydney, and it was infested with termites, how many termites would we be talking about, approximately?
Don, that's pretty difficult to say, but termites are social insects. They live in colonies which can number up to 2 or 3 million individuals.
You hear talk about, they say termites can destroy a whole house. Can they destroy a whole house?
They could if it was built of the right or the wrong materials and it wasn't protected.
What are the right materials?
Well, the right materials would be either non-susceptible materials such as non-timber products or timber products that have been treated to prevent termite attack, or the house should have been treated so that the soil on which the house was built would be treated so that the termites couldn't get in. And then you could use whatever materials you liked.
I see. Now, you can't go away stripping away pieces of wood like this off your house, so how would you detect termites? I mean, you don't wait till your house. How do you detect them?
You just might not until something gave way.
Oh, you suddenly fall from your 3rd floor to your basement and you know there's termites.
If you have a 3rd floor to fall from.
Has that happened to people? Suddenly the house collapses and they say, uh-oh, termites, and it's a bit late. Is that right?
Well, it has happened, but usually it doesn't get anywhere near as bad as that.
Okay, let's take a look over here now. I know a lot of you are going to be as interested as I was to see this afternoon. I'm going to take the cover off of this now. We've kept the cover on because they have to stay moist. Now, that in there. Now, these are a bit bigger than the normal ones. Is that right?
Yes, these termites, Don, their scientific name is Termites darwiniensis.
Wait a minute. The scientific name is what?
Termites darwiniensis.
Good.
And they're known as the giant northern termite, and they come from Australia, but only north of the tropic line. So they come from tropical areas.
So these would be the most destructive in Australia, would they?
They're certainly the largest, and they are responsible for a great deal of damage.
And they feed on?
They feed on susceptible materials, which may be many things, including wood, but also other cellulose materials such as paper, carpets, linoleum, you name it, they can attack it.
Okay, now these are the ones that we find more down in our climate, down in Melbourne, Sydney, and so forth.
You're going to ask me what they're called, aren't you?
These, yes. You want to move them this way, do you?
And
I see. Wait a minute. I'll move these over there. How are we? How's that? Like that? Is that good? I'll hold these.
You be careful, Don.
Okay. Now these are the smaller ones, right?
Those smaller ones, Dons, their scientific name is Coptotermes acinaciformis.
And the same goes for your cat, too.
Right.
Yeah.
However, they're a fairly common house-destroying or wood-destroying termite in Melbourne, Sydney, and many other capital cities.
Let me just show people, you could explain this better. I can just hold this up right over here and let this, we'll do it to 2 over there, and let them have a look. And you can, I'll hold it, but you can point at that and explain what we have here.
Yes, Don, what we're describing here is the fact that termites are social insects. They have a caste system so that there are different members of the caste within any one colony. On the right here, we have the workers.
Yeah.
And below them we have the soldier with the larger head and the ability to fight. And on the other side we have ones with wings, which are the only possible reproductive ones.
So these are the protectors, these are the workers, and these are the reproducers.
That's right.
That's what we're talking about.
That is so.
Okay, now just before we go, we have a piece of film we're going to show everybody, and just before we do, I want them to see something here. We'll put these aside for me. We'll go to the bigger ones because they're easier. Can you do, or do you want me to do it? Can I do it? These, if we can get in a close-up, then I can see where we are here. Now, well, let me see if I can find something in the area. This, you see this one here with the dark head that I'm pointing at here? That one there. You see it? Okay, now he's one of the protectors. Now watch what happens when I touch him. Look at those pincers open. Look at this. Look at it. Now he fights for them, doesn't he? If they're in any sort of trouble, his job is to go out and do something, isn't it?
His job is to go out.
Look at this one. He'll hang right on it. Look at this. He's hung on. Look, look. Can you believe? Look at the way he's hanging on there.
And if that was your finger, Don, he could probably draw blood.
Right. Well, he's not going to get the opportunity. And I'm also going to get him off the end of this if I can ever get... It's all right, Tarzan. You can let go. Oh, thank you. Yes. I'm glad you did that. Okay, now I'm going to cover these up, and we're going to look at a piece of film here, which is going to tell us some more things, I think, about... is this right?
That actually belongs to the other...
It belongs to the other side. Oh, here we go. Now, there's taking away pieces of wood from a house, just like we were talking about, to see what happens here.
That is a clip from a film, and we're looking at infested timber, which, from the surface, as the piece we showed at the beginning of this interview, looked quite sound from the outside, but inside, not so much. And here we have a nest of termites within a tree, and we're now showing the winged ones, which are released from a colony normally once a year to go out and form their own colony. They shed their wings before mating.
Oh, I see. Oh, look at that.
Suddenly no wings.
Right. So what do they find the right spot and say this is it, and they dump their wings?
They find the right spot, they say this is it, they get their gear off, and they wait for a mate.
Right. Don't we all? Oh, here you go. Look at this.
They go and set up as a king and queen, and they can end up forming a colony after about 15 or 20 years as big as this.
Those two are the beginning of a whole colony.
That's right.
So what happens? So then does the female becomes the queen?
The female becomes the queen, the male becomes the king.
Okay.
He remains about the same size, and she gets appreciably larger.
Oh. Just like real life.
Within a colony, and these particular colonies we're looking at are probably African termites, and there you see the queen.
Now,
there, in fact, you see two queens.
What is her function?
Her function is simply to produce eggs, and she has now become so large that she is in fact a giant egg-laying machine, possibly capable of laying 2,000 or 4,000 eggs a day.
And they all have to. Like, who is this now?
That's the king.
Oh.
He's at the moment at the front of the queen. He actually takes something like 14 seconds to walk from one end of his wife to the other. Which means that if he's at one end and she says no at the other end, he can't hear. But quite seriously, she does lay a lot of eggs, and
those are the eggs
those are the eggs there, right, appearing, and they have already been fertilized, and they're now being taken by workers to the warm side of the mound, where the workers look after them until they hatch into juveniles.
Right. Now, is that determined when they hatch? Is it determined? Oh, here now. What are these little ones?
These are little juveniles that have come out of the eggs.
Now, do they know whether they are soldiers or workers or?
No, at this stage they're just juveniles, and after 1 or 2 or 3 molts or instars, as it's called, it will be determined whether they're going to be soldiers or workers or nymphs, which become reproductives.
Now, there's a soldier.
There's a soldier with his mandibles, which are capable of crushing another insect that he may be fighting with, such as ants.
Oh, I see.
And this is a clip from a film that shows a bit of a fight between some ants and some termites, because the termite colony has been breached and the ants are attempting to get in.
Well, this is from the Hallstrom Chronicle, this thing. Now, I have seen this
so.
before. Oh, look at that. The ants attacked one. So this is the repairs going on.
Right. The workers are now repairing the breach in the colony so that they can clear it up and prevent anything getting in. And here, in fact, they are trying to move the queen, which is a hell of a job, but with enough people, they can achieve it.
I know a fellow that crossed the Doberman Pinscher with a termite, and he got a wonderful dog. It's a great watchdog, but it keeps eating the kennel. My writer told me to try that. I will never try it again if he says that. So the point is, the question that I would like to ask is, what are people supposed to do if they want to find out if there are... Those are called white ants also. I heard the expression white ants. Is that the same as a termite, white ant?
Yes, Don. The termites are frequently called white ants. They're not white and they're not ants, but apart from that, the name's all right.
Right. So what is a person supposed to do, just briefly, if they want to find out about if they have termites in the house?
Really, first of all, if they had the house built for them, they would probably have had a treatment done to the soil to prevent termite attack. If that were not so, they may either find that termites attack, or they would either regularly inspect the house themselves, or they would get the pest control industry to do that, which I perhaps should mention because this week is Pest Control Week, I understand.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
And if the public wanted advice, they should phone either the Forest Commission of Victoria or the Pest and Weed Control Association of Victoria, or indeed CSIRO Division of Building Research, to find out whether or not they have a hazard, because it isn't necessary that just because these termites can do damage to buildings, it isn't necessary that they do, and one shouldn't be too afraid, because after all, houses are being built properly for a long number of years, and the termites, which have been here for millions of years, haven't really got to them all yet.
Thanks, Doug. Doug Howick, the CSIRO. Thank you very much. We'll come back with the wheel in just a moment. You can stay there.